fais-moi plaisir. Vas-y, mets-toi à ton aise. Ce soir, je veux que l'on s'aime. Je veux pas qu'il y ait de gêne. Que la sensualité règne. Let me be your man.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and today I'm gonna be doing something different that I usually don't do on my channel. You guys know I'm the bubbly type. All I want to do is have fun, make you guys laugh. But today I actually want to talk about something serious that's been really heavy on my heart, and I just gotta talk about it and share it with you guys because it's really sad. But firstly, before I start off this video, I just want to make sure that you guys are staying safe out there. I hope you guys are safe. Like, it is crazy right now. Like, we all know how crazy it is right now, and I know we're getting tired of the quarantine life, but guys, let's just hold on because better days are coming. I'm praying. I hope you're praying. Like, this is just crazy, but I hope you're staying safe. So today I actually want to talk about the racism that's happening in China against Africans. I cannot believe that I'm actually gonna make this video right now, that I have to make this video right now because it is insane. I cannot believe what is happening right now. Like, we're already going through a lot. Now we're adding this. But I would like to give a huge shout out to Lovely T here on YouTube, because if it wasn't for her, I would not know about this. I would be so oblivious because the media wasn't talking about it. Nobody was talking about it until she was actually one of the first people to report about this before it got to the media. So I would really like to thank her and shout her out. Just check her channel out, okay, because she has a lot of great content, so just check her out. And to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was the right person to talk about this because I'm just like, little old me, what am I gonna say that's gonna change the world? But then I realized, you know what, I contribute to this society. I work, I pay my taxes, so I deserve to have a say. And since this has been heavy on my heart, I just could not let it go. I tried, but I couldn't, and I was like, yeah, I just gotta make a video about this to tell my subscribers, to tell my friends, family out there what is happening. So recently China just got out of lockdown, so businesses are opening, life is slowly getting back to normal, which is amazing. However, there's new cases now arising, so obviously people are scared that a second outbreak will happen, you know, which is normal. Now the problem is that the Chinese people are blaming these new cases on foreigners, especially Africans, which is insane. And these Africans are people who didn't even leave China, who stuck it through the lockdown with everybody, who took all necessary procedures and measurements to stay safe from the coronavirus along with everybody else in China. But yet, just because a few people, a few Africans were found with the coronavirus, now they're blaming Africans especially for this. This is ridiculous because the increase in cases is actually happening because Chinese people are flying back to China from other countries. So I don't get why they're trying to blame it on Africans and other foreigners. Like, make it make sense.
Ever since Xi Jinping announced that the virus was essentially contained in China and that they could start reopening businesses and reopening factories, the numbers have been going up, but they've been blaming all of those new numbers, those new cases and the new deaths in China on what they call imported cases, meaning that they've contained it in China, but people coming back into the country are bringing it along. It smacks, you know, a bit of xenophobia to me because, number one, most of these so-called imported cases are Chinese nationals who left at Chinese New Year and are just now returning or returning from schools abroad, etc. So these aren't foreigners, these are Chinese who are bringing in with the virus. And secondly, they've been given really no statistics to prove that the real numbers of people coming in with the virus are actually foreigners at all. But you know, that's kind of the narrative or the storyline that they'd like to say, is that all of these new cases are all from foreigners. They've even restricted foreign diplomats from coming back into Beijing, for example.
So apparently all the new cases have been related to Africans, but the Chinese media have only reported testing on foreigners. So who's to say that the Chinese locals don't have the coronavirus? Because they're not reporting that.
All all of the cases reported by Guangzhou authorities in April were reportedly related to African people. Chinese media have only reported about testing people from abroad. They haven't talked about testing locals, so we can't rule out the possibility that many of the locals are also infected, but it's not being reported.
So this is what's leading the Chinese people to be racist, to discriminate against Africans and other foreigners because they believe that these are the people who are spreading this virus.
It's led to discrimination against Africans among local Chinese. One citizen says the Africans staying on the street are a potential safety threat and a virus transmission hazard. Guangzhou is likely going to be a catalyst that ignites southern China.
So now what's happening is that some Africans are being kicked out by their landlords onto the streets, forced into homelessness, even after being loyal renters. After renting with these people for years, months, they're being kicked out. Why? Because their landlords are scared that they have the coronavirus. Like, what? And what's crazy is that these people are not being provided a place to stay. Hotels are refusing to take them in, even if they have money. There's literally Africans on the streets walking with their luggages, crying, begging for help, hungry, tired, scared, and the police doesn't care. People don't care. People are literally watching them just suffer in the streets because of what? It's, oh guys, I'm getting heated because it's just ridiculous.
On April 8th, a large number of African people in the southern Chinese city Guangzhou were driven out by their landlords and had to stay on the streets. Another video shows many Africans dragging their luggage aimlessly through the streets of Guangzhou. One of them says, "We are just walking on the road. They can't give us a house, they can't give us a hotel, and they cannot provide a place we can stay."
There's literally videos and pictures of Chinese people putting up signs that say no foreigners allowed, no black people around, in restaurants, in hotels, everywhere.
Are you isolated? So why should we be isolated? Give me one reason. Why should we be isolated?
People are coming to quarantine us inside our hotel.
Are the Chinese isolated?
Chinese are walking about. Those are the Chinese going about their daily activities. But because we are Africans, these people want to quarantine us. Why should we be quarantined? And China, tell us why we should be quarantined, China. Tell us why we should be quarantined. China is outside. We should be, tell us why we should be quarantined.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting. Why would you treat people like this? Why would you do this to a whole race? Why? And there was even a video taken in McDonald's that literally said black people are not allowed. Black people are not allowed. Let that sink in. They're literally writing signs that's telling black people that they are not allowed to enter. You're literally telling me that black people are not allowed to enter McDonald's to grab a cheeseburger, a Big Mac, fries, a large Coke. Why? What you want them to do? Go home and eat fufu? They can't even do that. Some of them can't even do that. You know what? Because they don't have homes. So what do you want them to do? You want them to die in the streets, hungry, cold? Because you guys are not letting them in hotels? You're not letting them in restaurants? So what do you expect them to do? Just die in the streets? Huh? So McDonald's did issue an apology on April 14th saying that the ban on black people was not representative of their inclusive values. So they shut down that particular store and said that the company will use this time to further educate managers and employees on their values, which include serving all members of the communities in which we operate. I'm so happy that they shut down that restaurant, because those employees, those managers, whoever typed that sign, they all need to be educated. They all need to sit down, take a tall glass of Let's Not Be Racist juice, because that's what they need to be drinking. And guys, it does not even stop there. Can you believe hospitals, hospitals, the people who take care of us when we're sick, they're not letting foreigners inside their hospitals. That right there is insane.
We are facing racism in a way that we cannot access medical care in hospitals. When we go to hospitals and we need any help, all they tell us is, please go away, after checking our passports and finding out that we are blacks, actually finding out that we are from Africa.
Let me just point out that even though Africans are getting the worst treatments, they are not the only ones experiencing this discrimination. It's all foreigners.
This is the wholesale market for medical equipment. They are letting Chinese buy masks, all the health gear to protect themselves against the virus. But as foreigners here, there's a Russian here, there's another Russian here, another Russian, there's a small girl here. They will not let foreigners go in. This is the guy. He says foreigners cannot buy masks or cannot enter, but Chinese can.
Like, guys, I've said enough. Just look at these disturbing videos.
Huddled on cobbled streets with layers of clothing to generate heat under the cold skies of Wanzhou City, this is the new way of life for Africans living in China. The very color of their skin now means trouble, screaming of sickness to natives who bear a different skin tone from them. Africans have become subjects of racial profiling. Chinese nationals blame them for the rising number of new coronavirus cases in the country. Brenda, not her real name, has been living in China since 2017. Earlier this week, she was kicked out of her home without any explanation. And just like any other person in a foreign country, the embassy is usually the next resort. For her, it was the Kenyan embassy.
I didn't have a place to go. I had to sleep outside. Yes, I did sleep outside. The next day they came. I tried calling them. They were not actually responding to my call. What they told me, go to the police. I did that. After staying at the police station for a maximum of 3 good hours, they told me that we are sorry, we cannot help.
She reached a dead end after 2 days of sleeping outside the embassy, a situation that many like her from other African nations have found themselves in. This video shows Chinese police officers escorting people of African descent from a place they had set apart for themselves.
I know of 2 pregnant ladies. One is 8 months pregnant, the other is 6 months pregnant. They cannot access hospital.
Patricia, also not her real name, was lucky to have escaped the eyes of Chinese nationals who came knocking in her house earlier today. Our conversation on phone revealing just how scary everything is.
So the moment they have come, mimi nimejificha. So sasa niko kwa nyumba, the rest wametolewa, wanasema ati wanawapeleka quarantine for 14 days.
It will be the 4th day today that foreigners, especially blacks, are denied access to services in the city.
Now I don't have food. I don't know what to do. And I can't just go to the street. I don't want to sleep outside. Now it's either I choose to have somewhere to sleep or I choose food.
It makes me even more annoyed because China has been moving so shady in regards to the coronavirus. First they hid this from the world, then they tried to lie about it, then they tried to blame the American military, claiming that they're the ones that sent the coronavirus there, and now they want to blame foreigners and Africans who don't have anything to do with this. And in the same breath, they want to deny the discrimination. They want to deny, even though there's videos, there's evidence, they want to deny that this is happening. Guys, it's a whole mess. It's a whole mess. It is a mess and I cannot keep up. Africans are being forced and harassed by healthcare workers and the police, and they're being forced to test for the coronavirus even if they have not been out of the country, even if they do not show symptoms of the coronavirus. They are also being forced to quarantine, further quarantine, while the rest of China is living their lives, going shopping, going grocery stores, going hospitals. Africans are being forced to quarantine. Like, wait a minute, hold up. I thought the virus does not discriminate. I thought the virus does not see color or race. Why is it that somehow, suddenly, it sees Africans? only Africans can get the coronavirus. What happened? What happened? Where did I miss something? Because that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous what is happening right now. And what I find the most disturbing, the most disgusting, is that the Chinese government, right? Listen, the Chinese government is denying these allegations. They are denying the discrimination that is happening to Africans. They don't see it. They don't see it. They're legally blind now. They don't see it.
Under the current situation where the international community urgently needs to work together and fight against the epidemic, it is irresponsible and immoral for the U.S. side to make those remarks and sow discord. We urge the U.S. to focus on containing the epidemic at home. Its attempt to drive a wedge between China and Africa's relationship will never succeed.
Why are they, again, shifting the blame to America? Why? Make it make sense. Because I'm baffled, I'm confused. Guys, just look at this next video of what this Chinese official had to say about this whole situation. I cannot make this up. Just look at what he says, because I cannot.
These videos, I understand that the Chinese government is by and large saying, you know, that there is not any sort of campaign of discrimination. But what do you see about what is happening there? These videos are what they are.
Now, first of all, China-African relations are very, very solid. And for some politicians in the United States to accuse China of practicing racial discrimination against Africans is really a fallacy. We all know how poorly and terribly have been the racial discriminations practiced by the United States against African Americans, and we call for a stop to such racial discrimination. Secondly, now in China, we are still very much in the middle of the fight against coronavirus.
Victor, one moment before we get to point two, which I will let you get to. Let's go back to point one. Yes, there is racism in the United States. I am an African American. That is separate and apart from what I asked you about what is going on in China.
That is exactly why I would say the U.S. politicians can do a better job in fighting to contain the spread of coronavirus in the United States, rather than, for example, falsely accusing China of practicing racial discrimination against Africans.
Victor,
we all treat African brothers and sisters as they are. We have high respect for the Africans.
Victor,
and
let me try again.
By such false accusation.
Victor, let me try again. I'm not talking about what's happening in the U.S. I am talking about what is happening in China. I am talking about the personal accounts from people who, you could see the signs that people are holding up at McDonald's basically telling black people, you can't come here. This is real. That is not the United States. I don't want to hear about the United States. I really am asking you, can you deny this? You really can't.
Yo, did you just see how this man was sitting there dodging the question, dodging the situation at hand, dodging everything, and putting the blame on America? Oh yeah, we but America, but America. No, we're not talking about America. America has its issues. We're talking about you, China. We're talking about what's going on in China. Okay? Why are you saying that there's no racism there? There's evidence, there's videos, there's Africans in the streets crying, and you're gonna sit there and say, I don't see it. No, what are you talking, what? Do you see racism? No, nah, me neither. That's how you're acting. Why? Take accountability. I said it. Take accountability. Take responsibility. Do better. This is disgusting. Do better. You're getting me heated. Do better. Stop blaming other people. Stop blaming other people. Do better. That's it. Literally, it makes me so mad that he was lying through his teeth. He was lying. Why are you lying? Why are you lying? There's evidence. There's videos. Why are you lying? Just take responsibility. Just take responsibility. Say, yes, there's racism, but we're going to work to fix this. We're going to educate our people. We're going to tell the people the truth. We're going to stop making these people think that Africa foreigners are bringing in the coronavirus. We're going to stop doing that. We're going to treat everyone equally. If Africans have to quarantine for 14 extra days, everybody else has to quarantine for 14 extra days as well. If everybody else is going to the stores, Africans should go to the stores too. Other foreigners should go to the stores too.
According to what I know, most of the Africans went in for quarantine for 14 days, and when the 14 days were over, they gave them another 14 days. And they didn't do this for the Chinese people. Why? I feel like that's not something, if we're all equal and at the same level, then we should all be going through the same processes. You see what I'm saying? I feel like it's not the same thing when we are being given extra and extra things, that we're being tested twice, we're quarantined twice.
So let's not act like the racism in China just started. This has been happening way before the coronavirus. The coronavirus just made it so much worse.
Many immigrants have more serious concerns with their treatment in China, where they complain they are routinely scrutinized by police. Their physical appearance makes them stand out, but Professor Bodomo says Africans are treated worse than other foreigners.
You know, there's a lot of Chinese people living in different parts of Africa. They're opening businesses, they're helping develop the countries. They've literally made African countries their home. Like, look at this lady speaking Lingala, way better than me. So my question is, why can Chinese people live in these African countries, but when it comes to Africans living in China, they are not welcomed? Why is that? Why? China seems to forget that there's a lot of Chinese people living in Africa. So you think that when Africans in Africa hear what is going on to their people in China, you think they're gonna be happy? You think they're gonna clap their hands? No, what's gonna end up happening is that they're going to do the same in these African countries to Chinese people. And that's what scares me. It honestly scares me, because this is gonna start a war, a race war between Chinese people and Africans, and it's gonna get messy. And it's already started, because in Uganda, Chinese people are starting to get kicked off business premises by the Ugandians. That's what's happening now.
It doesn't matter now why the Chinese cannot enter. Who sent the email?
It comes from management. It is the management. We have MTN, they gave to security. We should not allow Chinese in the building.
I'm not going to sit here and condone this behavior, because at the end of the day, this is wrong. But I will be lying if I said that China did not have this coming. You cannot treat Africans in your country like that and expect Africans to not retaliate. That is insane if you think that. This whole race war that's about to start should not be happening. I understand the anger, the frustrations that Africans are feeling right now. And unfortunately, I think that what's going to happen is that Africans are going to continue to retaliate and do the same things that Chinese people are doing to Africans in China. They're going to do the same things in these African countries. And it's sad. It is sad, because it's going to be bigger. It's going to create a worse situation.
Look, there's a huge population of Chinese in Africa. As this story gets out there and gets legs, seeing how Africans are being treated in China, you might see a backlash against many of those hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Chinese living in Africa. There has already been a lot of backlash against Chinese in Africa. A lot of Africans are starting to say that China's big economic footprint in China is benefiting China more than it's benefiting Africa. A lot of countries are going into a lot of debt to pay for some of these big projects. The Mombasa to Nairobi Railroad, for example, could end up putting Kenya into a lot of debt that they can't afford. A lot of these countries are starting to say, hold on a second, we're not getting the jobs from these projects because they're employing Chinese to come over and do the job. So there's been a lot of criticism of China's footprint in Africa. And then when Africans start seeing how Africans are being treated in China, yes, you could have a very big backlash. This could set back China's Africa policy by many years.
And if this racism against Africans in China does not stop, if China does not apologize to Africans, unfortunately, things will get messy, to the point where people might start physically hurting others and killing people. People might end up dead because of this, and that is not right. That is what we need to stop from happening. And I've seen a lot of people saying that Africans should just go back to their countries. No. China needs to welcome people into their country, because they are going into other people's countries and expecting to be welcomed. They are making these countries their homes. So yes, other people should be able to do the same in their country. No, oh, you cannot come onto my land and me not go into your land. You're gonna hold your nose up. You're gonna sit away from me. You're gonna act like you're superior and I'm inferior. I'm down here. No, that's not gonna happen. There's Africans who've been living in China for years. They've made China their home. They've started businesses. They've contributed to China's society. Why should they go back home? Why should they go back home when Chinese people are living in African countries? Why should Africans go back home? No, China needs to get their act together and do better. Take responsibility and do better. In general, the Chinese government want a relationship with Africa. They even refer to us as their brothers and sisters. Even though they're treating us bad in their countries, they refer to us that because they want a relationship with us, you know?
China has always had this kind of complex relationship with Africa, whereas officially, they see the African countries as brothers. Lately, China has put a lot of development money into Africa. They built the African Union headquarters. They built the railroad from Nairobi to Mombasa. But and as a consequence of these, tens of thousands or millions of Chinese living in Africa, you also have a lot of African traders, African students who have gone over to China. And so, officially, on an official level, there's this kind of feeling of fraternity. On the ground level, people to people, the Chinese simply don't like them very much.
But now many Africans are starting to think that even though China is helping in developing Africa, maybe it's for their own personal gain. Maybe they are benefiting more than us Africans. Is this another form of colonization? Are they trying to take over Africa, or are they actually working to develop the countries alongside with us because they want us to do better, or is it just for their own benefit? Because let's be real, for centuries other countries have just been taken and taken and taken from Africa and leaving the people with nothing. So when Africans are seeing Africans in China being mistreated, they're like, hold on, what's going on? I thought we were family. I thought you were our brothers and sisters. And it's further and further resulting in African people questioning China's intentions in Africa and for Africa.
Now, the whole idea of setting up a structure of power over other less developed states in order to gather resources and use their labor force might sound familiar, because that's largely what colonialism was. The motives behind European powers expanding their territory to less developed nations in the 15th through 20th centuries were remarkably similar to the motivations between China's growing economic influence in the developing world today. Right now, Africa is establishing itself as the source of labor and resources for China, and so, until the West pays attention, Africa will continue inching forward on its path towards becoming China's China.
As I mentioned, the officials in China are denying these racist allegations, even though it's happening. There's literally proof. They're saying no, they're doing the best to fight against the coronavirus. They're taking extreme measurements to fight against it so it doesn't come back.
Images of black people being refused service in restaurants and access to shopping centres have flooded social media. In the city of Guangzhou, some have even been evicted and forced to sleep on the streets. All of this due to irrational coronavirus fears. A group of African ambassadors warned Beijing of this growing phenomenon. China's foreign ministry has responded, denying that there's discrimination against Africans in the country.
If what they're doing is not racist, then what is it? Because why aren't these extreme measures and procedures being practiced with everyone? It's only being practiced with foreigners and especially Africans. Why is that? It's honestly just a bunch of bullshit. China is lying. They're not taking responsibility. Like I said, do better. Take responsibility. Responsibility. Accountability. Stop lying. I'm so happy that the world is finally waking up and realizing what China is doing. Because if it was up to them, they will hide it. They will hide it. They will not tell anybody. They'll be quiet as my shh. Nobody will hear about it. But I'm so so glad that people are hearing about this and people are sharing it and people are mad and people are saying, nope, we're putting a foot down and we're not letting China go until you answer these questions.
Like this started in Wuhan, China.
How do you know that?
It started in
How do you know that?
China.
Are you sure it's from Wuhan?
Yes.
Please show me.
I will send it to you.
Yeah.
I will send it to you. However,
even the professor and the scientists didn't say it's from Wuhan.
However,
and you are the expert.
You said when you are talking, I didn't talk. Let me give you the answer. Many Chinese travel to Nigeria at that time. Nigeria didn't quarantine them.
So
these are the people that are living in China. They are not the businessmen. So that is one thing. All the people that is business.
Are they students? Are you students?
They are here. They are here in China. You don't need to ask me question. They are here in China. They are not the businessman. That's what I'm telling you when you are saying money or life. They are here in China. They are doing their business in China. They are here. That is one. Two, all the people from Nigeria that came for business, they are entitled to go for 14 days quarantine. In line with what you sent to us as your policy. We agree with you. With that. All these people, when they finish the 14 days quarantine, where they did the quarantine, they give them a paper of release. Why are they still giving them another 14 days quarantine again? It's not acceptable.
Okay, it's
the first one, 14 days, the first 14 days is acceptable by us. Another 14 days, you didn't communicate to us that you are going to do another 14 days after 14 days. They have tested negative and then they have given them the paper. Why are they giving them another 14 days? That is one. Two, all the police, the documents, this passport belongs to the federal government of Nigeria. In line with international practice.
And I'm so glad that African officials have confronted Chinese ambassadors to discuss these issues, because this needs to end. The Chinese government needs to stop denying these issues. They need to stop denying that this is happening. They really need to take responsibility, because this needs to stop. Otherwise, people are going to get physically hurt. People might end up dying. For what? The world is already going through it. We don't need more bloodshed. We need to be together right now. We need to work together. We need to love each other. We need to keep each other safe. We don't need this racism and unnecessary chaos. So guys, just before I wrap up this video, I'd just like to say that we as the human race need to work together to fight against the coronavirus, because this is such a serious issue. People are dying, people are losing their jobs. There's just so many things that is happening from this situation, and we need to be working together. We need to stay safe. We need to pray, because better days are coming, but we need to pray and we need to stay safe, okay? But in conclusion, guys, I do hope you guys took something from this video. I hope you guys learned something, because this has been heavy on my heart and I really wanted to share it with you guys if you didn't know about it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.
You know I'ma show you love if you pull up, yeah. Promise you won't be no dub if you pull up. I promise that I won't let up if you pull up, yeah. Come on, pull up.